The PARC researchers invented a wide range of revolutionary technologies, from the laser printer to the bitmap windowing interface to WYSIWYG word processing to object-oriented programming. If that was all they had done, they would have been wildly successful. But they also integrated all of that into the Alto, and that is what changed the world. Similarly, new VR technologies will need to be woven together into a complete, tightly integrated platform in order to make that quantum leap. It's the sum of the parts that will deliver that breakthrough experience, not technologies in isolation, as we started to see when we put the codec avatar in a reconstructed environment. Which brings us to the question of exactly what that integrated next-generation platform will be. Rather than starting with technology, I'm going to approach that question from the perspective of what overall user experience we'd want the platform to deliver. And here, I'm going to return to a theme I've talked about before, my desire for a virtual collaborative workspace. For 5 years now, I've been wishing for a VR workspace that I could configure any way I wanted, with monitor-quality virtual screens, holograms, whiteboards, and whatever, saving and switching between configurations with a click. Throw in the ability to interact with my real surroundings and use a keyboard and mouse, and that would be a great work environment. And then, if I could share virtual spaces with other people, it would become an amazingly productive collaborative environment as well. And while I'm at it, it'd be great to have the ability to manipulate both real and virtual objects with my hands, complete with haptic feedback. I would use that in a heartbeat, and I believe that it would spread like wildfire, the way personal computers did back in the day. Even better, the hardware-software stacks and the overall platform needed to enable the full range of uses for that virtual collaborative workspace are so broad and general that they'd enable a vast space of applications and a flood of creativity across gaming, entertainment, communication, education, and productivity. Again, just like personal computers did. I am highly confident that a great virtual collaborative workspace would open the door to the entire next generation of VR, which in turn would unlock human potential on a massive scale. What would it take to make that collaborative workspace a reality? Well, without question, we'd need enough resolution and good enough image quality so that virtual monitors were at parity with real monitors. That would require very high-res displays and much improved optics. I personally think visual acuity needs to be 20/20 or better, but that's just the start. We'd also need the ability to render at that high resolution and to either do that with a mobile GPU or transmit the data over a wireless link. And that very likely means we would need foveated rendering, which may mean we need a new graphics pipeline and would certainly mean we need great eye tracking. Next, we would need excellent real-time mixed reality so that we could be aware of the world around us and move about and interact with our desk, chair, keyboard, mouse, and other surroundings. We would also want to have persistent, shareable virtual objects in the world so that we could, for example, set up a customized team workroom or work on tech art or some code with a teammate. To do that, we would need a localized version of the live maps technology that Boz talked about. That is, a private live map of our local physical surroundings. We would also need to be able to see our hands and our body in order to truly be present in the virtual world. And we'd want to do more than just look at our hands. We'd want to use them as the intuitive, highly dexterous manipulators that they are in the real world. So we'd want both haptic gloves and hands so accurate that we can interact with both the real and virtual worlds flawlessly in mixed reality. And if we're going to be doing work with our hands, we'd want clear and comfortable vision within arm's length for hours of use per day, exactly what Varifocal is designed to deliver. We'd also want proper spatialization and propagation of virtual sounds, so virtual objects and spaces would sound as real as they look. For collaborative work, we'd obviously want the compelling avatars we discussed earlier, and we'd need accurate real-time face, hand, eye, and body motion, as well as highly realistic appearance. Less obviously, we'd need a wider field of view so that everyone in a meeting could see everyone else. That's essential for social interaction, as are voices that sound like they're coming from the right people in the right places. We'd want to be able to share our real environments with each other, both for social purposes and because physical objects will often be important to the discussion. And we'd want to wrap all this up with great ergonomics to make it comfortable to be in VR for hours at a time. And that would require making everything I've discussed compact and power efficient. And then we'd finally have the complete platform that my dream workspace could be built on, which I think we can all agree would be pretty awesome. But how do we get from here to there? Well, FRL has been pushing the envelope for the last 5 years on everything I just talked about. we've been focused on bootstrapping individual areas, like the hand tracking Mark talked about, which originated as FRL research, because that's what it took to get to next generation technology. Now that we've built many of the pieces, though, it's time to start putting the full platform together. To paraphrase Alan Kay, the best way to predict the next generation of VR is to build it. And FRL's mission is to build time machines that let us peer as far as possible into the future. So just as Xerox PARC built the Alto and showed the way to the future of the personal computer, FRL is going to build a true next-generation concept prototype with the objective of showing the way to the long-term future of VR. This prototype is going to be aimed squarely at collaborative virtual workspaces with the objective of enabling fully remote work that has all the benefits of working in an office, in addition to the pluses of both virtual and remote work. One reason we're making remote work the North Star is because it's a great way to connect people in VR, and connecting people is what Facebook is all about. Another reason is that making remote work really effective would have a hugely positive effect on how we live. Imagine what it would mean if you could work remotely as effectively as in person, or someday, maybe even more effectively, because you could have collaboration tools in the virtual world that could never exist in the real world. People wouldn't need to live near where they work. They could live near family, or where housing is affordable, or just wherever appeals to them. Commutes would vanish, and there would be dramatically fewer business trips with huge energy and environmental benefits. Companies would be able to tap into talent around the world, and the ability of talented people to find meaningful, high-paying work would no longer be determined by where they happen to have been born. That is truly a future that defies distance, and that by itself would be more than enough motivation. But there's yet another reason for building this prototype, and that's that a collaborative virtual workspace is something we in FRL would actually use. And when you're inventing something new, it's critical to know the customer well and have a rapid feedback cycle with them, and how better to do that than building something for yourself. So the key metric for our prototype will be whether we find we choose to use it for hours a day to do real work. If we find it that useful, so too will millions of other information workers, most likely including you. The long-term potential of next-generation VR is tremendously exciting, but I want to be really clear that this is still high-risk research. At best, it will take years to get to a prototype that proves out the concept. And Hofstadter was right. It always takes longer than you think, and that's especially true for turning research into something usable. So there's exciting potential for that quantum leap down the road, but for the foreseeable future, VR will be all about the Quest generation. Again, VR is happening now. Anyway, however long it takes to build that compelling next-generation prototype, we will keep at it until we get there. Now again, this will be a prototype, not a product. You won't be able to buy it. It won't be sleek or affordable or highly manufacturable or as durable as a consumer product needs to be. It will surely come up short of my wish list in some respects. That's okay. It just needs to be good enough to show the way to the next generation of VR.